Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of We're Talking Shift. This is the podcast where we talk shift, because when we feel stuck, if it's time to level up, rise to a challenge, make a health shift, a relationship shift, an emotional shift, in other words, any kind of meaningful, effective change in our lives, the first thing we have to shift is our thinking. That is the antidote to being stuck. My favorite returning guest, Dr. Tommy John, is back with us today. Dr. Tommy is passionate about educating the public about the miraculous machine known as the human body. If you are a longtime listener, you already know this about him. But if you're new here, buckle up, because Dr. Tommy always takes us on a great ride. So without further ado, welcome back, Dr. Tommy. You ready to talk some shift?
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Let's do this.
Cool. Well, so here we are in the COVID of 2020.
Right.
So I don't know. I have to put a little bit of a humorous spin on it, because
the
whole thing is, it's just an unusual year, isn't it? So we'll just I'm going to leave it at that. And you are very, you're very outspoken. We follow each other on social media, and you're very outspoken about your beliefs around our immune systems in relationship to this current health climate, shall we say, happening right now around the world. So I thought it'd be fun to chat about that, and also about responsibility and who that lies with. I mean, it's all connected. So if you're cool with it, though, I thought I'd start by asking you about a quick video that you shared. Maybe it was just yesterday or 2 days ago on Twitter, and it was something about, it was a life lesson, and it had to do with losing your phone and your key.
Ah, yes. So absolutely, I'm an open book. You know this. I'll sometimes share maybe a little too much, so you don't ever have to ask permission. Just let's go into it. But it was on the 4th of July. And every year, 4th of July, I've been in Southern California for 5 years. And I'm not a big partier anymore. I shriek at social gatherings. I almost get anxiety, even though I thrive on it in my office. But like socially, I just used to love a full bar, for a full concert hall. Now I'm just like, okay, I'm good. I'm really good with a small group of really close people. So
I hear you.
Every 4th of July, I take it upon myself to try to find a stretch of beach in Southern California where nobody is.
That should have been easy this year.
Exactly. So now wait for it, because I say this in my office. Everyone's like, TJ, what are you doing this 4th of July? I'm like, I'm going to find a beach where nobody is. I'm going to post up with an umbrella, a book, donuts, or kombucha, or fruit, or whatever I choose, full coffee, whatever. I'll spend the day. They're like, where is this? Like, how is it even possible? And they're like, no way. And then I always post a video. A 1-minute video of me sitting on like 300 yards of beach where nobody is. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to give away my secret. So if anyone's in San Diego or if anyone's in LA, you guys got my secret, but it's a good secret to have. South of this one entrance on the beach is D Street. South of it, there's this little outlet, like where the cliff kind of comes out. And then if you keep going south 300 yards, there's another outlet. Well, when it's high tide, it closes off those outlets. So you have a private stretch of about 300 yards of beach. You just have to time it. You have to get there before high tide. Otherwise, you're just going to be walking through like waist deep water, which nobody does, right? Okay. And I know nobody does. So I've gone there, and I've spent the last 4 years on this beach where nobody is. Okay. And then I spend the whole day. And about the only people who come up are surfers that paddle that way, or paddle boarders that'll come there. But it's like 2 or 3 people on a Southern California beach on maybe one of the busiest beach days of the year. So that was my plan. I had 4 donuts from Lazy Acres. I had a full coffee, a chair, an umbrella. I had Sire G's book, Regenerate. I will fully promote that thing because it's amazing. And I was going down, and I was playfully, I saw a friend on the beach. So I was talking to her for a little bit, and the beach was starting to get crowded, and the tide was up, and I was jumping from rock to rock, and I was acting like I posted a video of Erwan LaCour's kid from MoveNet. He had his son jumping from rocks, and he was challenging himself, this little 7-year-old kid. And he must have failed like failed like 13 times, jump into one rock, and then he got it. And it was just this great video. And I was kind of inspired by that. So I'm jumping from rocks, avoiding the tide coming up, and I'm playing with the ocean. I'm just having a blast.
Yeah.
Get to my spot, post my umbrella, open my book, set everything down. I'm looking and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I don't have my phone. And I'm like, okay. And I just did check it when I was talking to my friend, because we exchanged a picture or something. Like I just used it like 200 yards earlier.
Right.
Now I'm like, oh my God. And I immediately turn into as if somebody who lost their child. Right. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And I don't run, but I was hauling ass up and down the beach trying to retrace my steps and find my phone as if to find it. I mean, the tide's like rushing, and I'm like, okay. So I go all the way up, all the way down, and I'm freaking out. My internal voice is like, you idiot. Why didn't you fasten it? Why didn't you put it in your bag? Like all this negative, right? And now tossed and then I stop myself and I'm like, wait a second, dude. Look at what you're feeling like. And we've talked about this on previous episodes. You become very aware when you're not dialed in. Like when you dip off beam, when you do all the work, you know what it feels like to kind of be dialed in and vibrating at a higher level. Mm-hmm. When you go off that, you become very sensitive to when you're off that. And that's what I think is a good thing. So I stopped and I was like, okay, it's a phone. Really? Nobody's dead. You didn't injure yourself. You're not sick. Nobody you know is sick or dead. Like, calm down, put this in perspective. The ocean claimed a piece of technology that you really don't need right now. It's going to be okay. It's replaceable. Right. So I literally stopped in my tracks and I started laughing because of my reaction, which was total freak out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's like your lifeline, your phone right now. It's like an appendage. So
that was it.
Right.
And so it's literally, but Loree, literally, I was like, I can't take the picture of the ocean that I wanted to get. And I wanted to do spinal hygiene. I want to film it. It was all these like topical crap. Like, wait, really? For our essential of life is none of that? What the hell are you, dude? Chill out. Well, I had to, I should have. Now, the ultimate like Shaolin monk approach to that would have been post my umbrella, enjoy my donuts, sit in the face of that, and just enjoy it. Like enjoy. Yeah. But I was like, I'm going to solve this problem because that's how I roll, right? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, problem presents, let's solve it. Right. So I go back to my apartment because how do you contact anybody without a computer or a phone? Like I don't even know how to find a T-Mobile store. Like, is there a Yellow Pages? Do they exist?
Right. How do I get anywhere?
No, I was like, do I grab somebody on the street? Like, hey, can I use your browser? Like, I don't know what to do. This is crazy. And then I was like, I can't, I'm kind of limited because I've put so much confidence and trust into this, which is what they kind of want. They want us to be dependent on that, right? Like that's where we're kind of headed. And I know we're able to reach thousands and hundreds of thousands. That's great. But then it's also, you disconnect from connection, and we know this, like it's proven. So I find a T-Mobile store with my computer, set an appointment, go in. And if you're going to lose something on a day and you're going to go to a store like that, you want to go on a holiday. I mean, the store was open. There was nobody in there. They were laughing at like my story. We were just having a blast, and I ended up doing spinal hygiene while I was waiting for my new phone to download stuff. It cost me, some bucks, and I paid with cash and was like, okay. And I got a new phone plan. It's the same price. Like everything was just like, dude, calm down.
It worked out. Right. It all worked out.
And I got back to my apartment before noon. It was literally all this done and finished before noon. And I was like, if something is more American than the fact that I was safe, I have a job that I can afford stuff. I'm doing what I love. I live at the beach. I have donuts and coffee. I met friends, and I went and lost a technology device, and I went and bought a new one on the same day. Like, God bless America. God bless. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
I mean, this was fantastic. And so I needed to post that video because I did go through the fluctuation of where we all go. I mean, there was a previous me, that if that would have happened, it would have ruined my month. Like I would have been floored and just upset and violently upset. and it would have lost sleep and my appetite. And if I was dating somebody, they would have gotten my wrath. It was like, wait, what? What is wrong with you? Like, calm down.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It would have spilled over.
Such a cool thing though. Yeah.
Right.
Is a test, right? And I'm like, okay, great test, you know?
Yeah. Cause you had to walk your talk.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's easy when something that's, you know, seems at least in the moment to be really dramatic or extreme or really is making you super uncomfortable. That's when you really get put to the test. And can you really do the things that you espouse that you do and tell everybody else that this is what, you know, these are the things that you should be doing for optimal, you know, peace and health and happiness and all that. Good
and
test.
I hope the part that people grasped was that the work, you and I, and anybody listening, when we do the work we're doing, paying into that compound interest account, it's for moments like this that you don't know, the unpredictables, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then when they happen, oh, wow, like that level of stimulus wasn't that crazy. It might have broken me. It might have broken me so much that maybe my immune drops because of my stress response. And maybe I have something that comes up and infiltrates, or, you know what I mean? Like you don't know when that is. So that's why you're constantly doing the work every single day for those things that you can't plan for.
It's true, because then like you just said, when they do come up, and they will, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of they're going to come. It's just a matter of time. And wow, if you have been doing your work and practicing those things, how to stay kind of in control, if you've mastered your emotions and you don't let yourself, you know, completely collapse and turn into a basket case or, you know, a raging maniac, then you not only get through it without, you know, the stress and just compromising your whole state of mind, and which of course, as you just said, affects you biologically and your immune system.
Totally.
But then you will also, not only that, but you will also have the opportunity to find something good, like, you know, your life lesson. You might meet somebody and have a laugh that you would not have met and laughed with before. There's and then you go to bed at the end of the day and you're like, wow, you know what? I realize what that could have been like before. I realize how far I've come. And I see the silver lining. And now I have something, you know, a great little story to share that hopefully somebody else will be like, I'm inspired a little more to keep practicing.
Yeah, that's why I shared the story. That's why I almost couldn't wait to get back. I was grateful that it happened, because here's what I had seen. And I didn't used to look at life that way. And it's like, you know this, because there's going to be some people, it's like, I mean, you get to go through that with an object, a phone. The toughest is going through that with a human, like where you have some sort of fallout with a person, you know, and it's a human to human relationship. That's the strongest of all, for sure. But these are those little trials, right? This is the training. This is like the practice game. Okay, if I can handle a phone, maybe I can handle a divorce or a breakup or, you know, a family argument. The stuff that's like the deeper rooted things than just an object. You know,
right. The objects are your opportunity to practice. You're strengthening your mental muscle, your mind muscle, for sure. I had we had an incident a few years back. We used to have horses, and every year we would trailer our horses back and forth when we would had a summer. We would summer in Wyoming at our home here, and then we would spend the winters in Arizona. So for several years, we had a long trailer. We would put our motorcycle up in the front, the horses in the back, the dog in the truck, and then we would make our, you know, twice a year trek back and forth. Yeah. And so a few years back, we had left Wyoming, heading to Arizona, and we're probably about an hour and a half maybe from reaching our home in Arizona. And we got a flat tire on the trailer, and it's now just about an hour before dark. And so we, it's an 1,100 mile trip. It's, you're on the last stretch, you're tired, you're ready to get out. We still have to unload horses. There's a lot of work still to be done.
Sure.
And we pull over the side of the highway. And, my poor husband is just beside himself. He's nervous. He's kind of panicking. Because we have live animals and,
Sure.
we're waiting for what was just the longest time for AAA to come and take care of this issue. And I'm just like you. I'm just like, I got the dog and the sun was setting and it was beautiful in the desert. And I just kind of walked off the road about 20, 40 feet. And the dog and I just kind of found a little place to perch and watch the beautiful sunset. I'm like, well, you know what? We're not going to be here forever. At some point we will be rescued. It's not raining. We're not starving. The horses are fine. We didn't get into an accident. I mean, it could have been so much worse. And I felt bad for my husband because I'm like, he's losing his shit and I'm just enjoying the sunset. But I, like you, maybe it would have been years before that. I might have been losing my stuff too. And, but with lots of practice, I had my mental dialed in so I could just sort of go with the flow and live to tell about it. It matters. It matters. Okay, I got to ask you. You mentioned in the last 20 minutes donuts 4 times. So clearly you're a donut lover.
Well, here's the thing. So I go with. I think we talked a little bit about last time because you might have said one of your guilties. You do that the peppers on the pizza and you guys just mow it. And so pizza and root beer is one of my. I'm very open about not being perfect with nutrition because I just don't think you need to be, right? You're kind of like, I'm just here. Totally. Here's what I eat. Here it is. Yeah. I go through phases and I always go with cravings and I'm craving donuts. And so donuts with coffee in the morning, I can't do a lot. It just doesn't, my body just turns off after one. Mm-hmm. The 4 of them might have lasted 4 days, but if I would have felt like 2, I would have gone with it. But then there's other times, Loree, it might be 2 months I don't touch them. And then all of a sudden it'll be mini croissants or it'll be like a buttery, salty. And I'm like, all right, go with it. And those are 2 things I always try to recreate restaurant quality stuff. Like every time, it's super rare. I try to recreate, this is why we talked about pizza. I can't recreate a really good pizza. So I order out. It's like one of my only order outs. And then you got donuts. I do have a friend on Instagram, her mom, she lives in Colorado. Her mom makes these donuts from scratch. And I was like, oh my God, you got to give me the recipe. And it's this really elaborate thing. And I just don't think it's worth the donuts. Yeah. So I'm like,
that's a lot.
All right. I guess I'm like, I don't know how to recreate a croissant, donuts, or pizza. So I'm going to ship out for those. And I just go, the little store down the road has an occasional, they got these ones. Now I will say this, it's like these elaborate icing designs and all this stuff. And I know it's to catch your eye and draw you to it. You're going to buy these 4 donuts. And I just like the cake part or just like the basic glaze. Right. And so
simple.
I scrape all that off because I just want that good cake. And I'm not doing it for health reasons. I'm doing it because I'm just like a snob, like a donut snob.
Right. I think that's okay.
And I'm admitting, right? I'm not in denial. But when we would go to Dunkin' Donuts on Sundays after church as kids, the only one I loved was the cake donut with the rainbow sprinkles. And it was always sold out. And so we'd go as a family and we'd get the variety pack or whatever and be like, get Tom his rainbow sprinkles. And they never had it. And I'd always be out like pouting because I didn't get my donut. And then as an adult, I'm like, when I get the chance, I'm gonna get a donut. And so I was speaking at a high school once down towards LA, and Randy's Donuts.
I don't.
With the big donut. So it's the big donut sculpture on top. It was in Iron Man 2 when he's sitting up in the donut, eating the donut. It's like a famous, it's been in different movies. Like Quentin Tarantino maybe did it, but Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. is like sitting inside the donut.
Okay.
And so I'd seen it in movies being a cinephile, and I'm like, wait, I'm gonna, this is right near the high school. I'm going to get a Randy's donut. And they're like $1. And I got 2 donuts. I could only finish 1. And I'm just, when I get in these little kicks and I go with them, and I'm very proud. And
I like it. I did a little kick myself. It was my birthday on Saturday, and I decided,
happy birthday.
yeah, thank you. So, all of this whole 4th of July celebration stuff, some people don't know it's all about me. And so,
of course,
you know,
not America.
It was all about me celebrating my birthday. And I decided this year I wanted pie. So, but I'm not a baker, very rarely. So I ordered some pies, and I had pie all weekend, and it was just delightful. It was wonderful. I had apple pie and key lime pie and banana cream pie, and no, not an ounce of guilt. It was fabulous.
No. Outstanding. I'll go through pies. They have these halves or whole cherries at this store in Encinitas, and I will get half a cherry. I'll go through these pie phases just like you, and I'll eat them. I celebrate it, and it feels fantastic. And there's no shame, there's no guilt, and then I'm good. Like I'm off. I'm good.
Yep. Yeah, that's all you need. You kind of check that box, and you're good for a while.
So pizza and pie, Loree, I think we're connected a little deeper than what we think. We both enjoy.
I know. The more we talk, the more we find our common cheat foods is what it sounds like. Anyway, okay. So let me get back to something that's not food related before I develop a new craving, and I want to talk about let's stay with our theme of some personal responsibility here, because it's kind of some part of your life lesson there for your situation that happened with losing your phone was basically just taking charge and personal responsibility for your health, which in this case was really your emotional state, your emotional health. You managed it. So on that note, of taking personal responsibility, what do you think with everything that's going on? We have there's two. It seems like pretty much two camps. One camp that is like, don't worry about anything. Just do what you're told. Just believe, what you're being told by the experts, and that's fair. If you don't know, you want to believe somebody that you think is an expert. And then there's the other camp that's like, I don't know about any of this. I'm going to do some of my own investigating, and then I'll do what I want. So I guess my question is, what do you think about how much we should defer to the so-called experts? Because there seemed to be an endless stream of them. Who knew there were so many here? On TV and the news media themselves versus, thinking for ourselves, doing our own investigating. Some people would say that that's the irresponsible thing to do, and some people think, no, that's the very responsible thing to do. So what's your take?
So when I've been doing this for so long that as soon as all this came out, I wasn't fazed at all. It just, I went and defaulted to what I've been doing because I'd done so much work up to this point that this was just another, like, okay, all right, what's going on? Why are we freaking out? What is it? Among as many of my colleagues and friends and people that I look up to and follow, they're all just like, wait, what are we doing? Calm down. We got this. This is okay. Well, then it was like all this other stuff started to come out. Okay, if I was over there, how did I start? Like when I was first starting, well, I would take in the information and then it would lead me to spark me wanting to investigate more. Go to the source of who these experts are talking about. What are they referencing? And when you go to the source and you dig it up and you read or you talk to some doctors and you got to talk to all sides, which it's sad that there's like sides in doctors, but like, or there's like political natures in doctors.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Like, how is that even possible? And so when you start to see that, it's like, wait a second, the information that's coming out, who stands to benefit? Because I've gotten a lot of hate as well from the information I'm putting out. And when I always say this, do your research, keep digging, keep what makes sense, because some of it's just going to make sense to you. And then other parts, it's going to work. I always say, does it make sense or does it work? Most of the time, the litmus test is comments. It'll be, that just doesn't seem to make sense. And when you do your research and go, instead of blindly following, does it make sense? Okay. Well, there's two sides, let's say, virus origination, what that does to us. There's germ theory or there's terrain theory. Let's just take that as a simple, like, be afraid because germs cause disease, or the environment that our body is in is more approachable to the germs to create the changes, and they thrive on garbage. Let's just say, like, flies thrive on garbage and rodents thrive on garbage. The flies and rodents don't make the garbage. So, like, there's two camps, right?
Yes.
And so when you start looking at that, it's like, wait, germs cause disease, or the environment that the body's in makes it more open to those things kind of teaching us how we're supposed to change, or we would call it being sick, but we know it's not being sick. It's just waking us up and having that conversation. It's the things we need to change. Mm-hmm. If germ theory was true, then we would never have survived ever. Like, there's so much in our nose passage, in our colon, and in our small intestine that could kill us right now. But then there's also this balance of microbes, and there's this balance. So that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, it just, when you explain, because some people are like, I don't even know what germ theory is. And when you have a conversation, everybody, no matter what their level of education is, they're like, well, that just doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't, does it?
Right.
And then you explain terrain in the most basic sense. And this is stuff you can just get. It's not like archived, blacklisted articles. This is just out there. Well, I guess it's out there now. Google is censoring quite a bit. But if you go to DuckDuckGo or some of those other engines, right?
Yeah, you can find it.
You could find it. And so now there's going to be representatives behind this, like me, for instance, or some other doctors way, way high up on the scale, naturopaths, MDs, scientists, pathologists, virologists, all of them.
Yeah.
They're saying the same thing. Now, here's my take. And this is another thing. Like, the message that's being displayed, who stands to benefit? Because it's supposed to be humanity. Like, it's supposed to be the human race is supposed to benefit from all things health.
Yeah.
And so not an organization, not a business, not a corporation, not an individual, but the actual people. Like, we're supposed to benefit. What sounds better? Like, what sounds more hopeful, empowering, and evolutionary and adaptive and like strong and like resilient and gritty and stuff that we were like made from? Well, yeah, it just makes sense that the terrain theory and these doctors here posing it, because I had a lot of people say how selfish of those doctors to be saying that. How are they benefiting? They're saying that you protect you, that you do it, not that, they have vested interest in a stock of something that if we buy a vaccine or if we go this route or we stay, or there's small business. There's people that will lose business by pushing this agenda. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fully prepared to not have my business open if it means that people get healthier. Them empowering themselves. Problem is, when we do things like socially connect, not isolate, and we talk and we expose ourselves to outside, and we're more, I have a post coming up where it's bacteria and viruses, mentors of the human race since the dawn of time. Like, they tell us, they teach us about our environment and what we need to do, like leveling up, whooping cough, measles, pox, scarlet fever, mono, even all these things that teach our bodies how to get ready for the next level instead of trying to prevent anything from ever, we got to
you can't hide from it. You shouldn't hide from it.
No. What makes sense? And when you start doing your research, I just wish people did more research all over. Just get information, just soak up information. Like you and I, we read, we talk, we listen to videos, we watch. And I'm not just listening to stuff that I like. I'm listening to everything, and it's like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. And, and it's just, okay, I'm off. I'll go to the next one. Oh, wow, look at that. That makes sense. And it's just, here I am 20 years later. And that's why the majority of, regardless of if this thing is as virulent as it is or if it's not, I'm not afraid per se, because one, I'm not afraid of death. That's something else. Like in this country, medicine is like, as long as you're not dead, it's a success. And it's like, well, what is like being in a vegetable in a bed for 10 years and you racked up $1.5 million for a bill? Well, wait, you didn't even live. You know what I mean? And what if we always think of like death as this, wait, it's something we all experience. Like we will all go there. So let's try to go in the most peaceful way possible, first of all. And what's the best way to approach that so that the crossover is peaceful? Well, nourished, rested, connected with purpose and belief, and nourished by the sun, and moved and resilient and pliable and just empowered and confident. And all right, let's go. And then whatever happens, happens.
Right. And for in this particular incident with what's going on now, for the majority of people, it's not a death sentence. So there's that. Anyway, but I will. I'm going to refrain from going off on a vent session about that. But anyway, but you touched on something also that I think is very important. That's happening. And it's one of your 8 essentials to health, which is relationships, which is also the same thing as connection. And I think it's really good to talk a little bit more about that because, connection is one of the 6 psychological human needs. I mean, it is, everybody needs it. Right? Human beings, we're innately social species, right? So we have to have connection in order to be, emotionally, mentally fit. It's just who we are. It's how we're built. Yeah. And so this extreme social distancing, is this isolation, which when you think of it is really interesting because it actually compromises your immune system in a way because it's typically isolation is used as a punishment, right? I mean, when your kid misbehaves, you send them usually to their room. You isolate them because they don't want to be isolated, and then you behave better and you get to rejoin the tribe, right? Or prisoners. I mean, what's the thing that they go into isolation if they're solitary, if they're misbehaving even more in prison. So it seems so, I get what they're putting out is the logic for this, but it doesn't seem logical because that kind of isolation for people and social distancing, basically, not connecting with other human beings other than the ones that are under the same roof with you, is something that creates a lot of more fear, stress, anxiety, and doesn't all that compromise our immune system? Depresses it.
Like that's the stress response. If this thing were about whatever it's about, it should be what's the best way to put our immune systems in the best position possible to be able to survive this, whatever it is or this is.
Yes.
I find it interesting. They call it social isolation and not physical isolation.
Yeah, right.
It's like the worst of the worst, and that's the big part. There's always that part in the movie where the person's on a boat by themselves and they go crazy. Like it's always this isolate. If Tom Hanks didn't have Wilson, he would have totally committed suicide. Like you can't in Castaway, in the movie Castaway. Like there's all these references to that single individual being by themselves. And that's what they were trying to promote. Yeah, you might have a household of people, but again, even husband, wife, brother, sister, is going to have a breakdown. My poor little niece, 13 years old, had a breakdown because she couldn't see her friends. And she doesn't break down. And this little girl, after hearing the news of what Illinois was going to do, is like, next year, we're not going to open up, like all these things. And it was just, you're right. Kids, you don't have to get kids to be social. They gather up. They ask each other's age so they know hierarchy. They'll make rules for stuff. They almost create like a Lord of the Flies right within your eyes. Like they'll create like a community immediately. Hey, what's your name? I'm Tyler. How old are you? And they know because of the age who's going to decide, hey, we're going to go here. All right. And they all follow around, boom. And then they just share and open and connect. And when they started to do that, again, I understand avoid all germs means we don't get sick. But that's again, if you believe in that germ theory approach. But that'd be like you're never leaving your house ever again, or there's nothing coming through ever, nothing in your nose, E. coli, MRSA, all these things that already lie inside of us. So everything from that connecting part. And when I started to hear, this is when I almost bawled on the spot. A friend of mine a chiropractor. She passed away up in Thousand Oaks area, and Zoom funeral. And I was like, wait a second. At a time when you should connect with your family most and share and celebrate and honor the memory of a person, and you can't do that person to person because you were told that it's authority. That's just oh my. And I was livid because I got thrust back to when my brother passed away. And if somebody had told me you can't have a funeral, I would not have listened one bit. I would have taken the sign and shoved it up there. There's no way.
Right.
And when this woman and her family and friends couldn't have a funeral because they had to isolate and do all this stuff through a funeral. Yeah. Wait a second. But connection, humans, we connect from room to room. We connect through dreams. We connect energetically. Like, we don't understand the vastness of how much we can affect each other. It's why I moved out here. The second I touched my patients, being a chiropractor, chiro manual, right? It's hands. So it's hands on. As soon as I touch, I exchange with that person. I exchange everything that I got going on. I exchange my current state. They take it on. They may not be conscious of it, but they're accepting that. You've sat in the room with somebody that's just vibing, like, and you can feel. You could feel your husband when he was cranked when the car.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you could sense it. Like, that's measurable.
Yeah.
I moved because I was like, I'm having to meditate and get my mind right before I touch a patient in my own office, in my own facility. That's not right. Something needs to be better, because as soon as I connect with that person, they're exchanging. Now that's a bad. Like, I had all, angst and I wasn't happy with where I was living, but the same goes for positive, right? Like, if we're really dialed in and we're really experiencing joy and content, and we're happy where we are, and we have a life we don't want to take a vacation from, and you want to share that with an embrace or a handshake or a hand on the shoulder or a cheek to cheek. Or, do you know we're supposed to hug heart to heart? Did you know that? I just learned this.
I did not. I mean, I think I do anyway. It's just kind of the natural way that I hug, but I didn't realize there was a thing about that. It's just the way
you're dialed in. Apparently, a lot of people default to hugging off left. So our right side goes to right side. And we're supposed to go heart to heart, as to that's what I don't like that word supposed to, but it made sense. I'm like, oh, wow, press our hearts together, and that's what we should hug. Now, you default to that, which maybe says something. That's pretty awesome.
Wait a sec. Oh, I'm thinking about this in my brain now. I'm like, no, because if it's heart to heart, then it would be left shoulder to left shoulder. And exactly. I go like straight on. So it's right. So no, I come in hot straight on. So so it's my heart to lung, I guess.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
It feels good though.
If we go off center, and the heads separate, it would be off to the left, to the right. Excuse me, off that person's left. So heart to, interesting. Okay. But there's very much on the power of touch, the power of connection, and we were told that this was going to be protective in nature, and it did more damage. And sadly, it's going to continue to do more damage because we're not equipping ourselves. Viruses don't get eliminated or beaten. We don't beat viruses. You don't beat bacteria. You don't ever beat nature. You figure out how to work with it. And we keep phrasing it as we're going to beat this virus. No, we're not. Not ever are we going to beat this thing. So let's accept that it's out there. Let's accept that it's really not that big a deal, as proven by the numbers. And even if it was, we have to learn to live within what these viruses and bacteria. So, okay, how can we equip ourselves and level up so that when we go out and we're exposed to life, we're ready, we're more prepared. But they had us isolating, which had us worse, in a worse state of being, so that when we're let out, or we're going back to sport, or we're going back to, I talked to my buddy Vladimir, he was saying these Serbian professional basketball players in isolation, socially distancing, when they came back, their performance, their immune response, I forget how they measured it. They did some blood marker. It was down 50%. Now, these were pro basketball players, and it was a month of social isolation, and return to normal had an immune decrease of about 50% in 20-year-old professional athlete thoroughbreds, basically, right?
Right.
And if that's the case in them, what about the general population that we keep worrying about? Like, yeah, social isolation, maybe one of the worst decisions we could have done in this situation. So,
I agree. And I think that I believe there are studies out there too that reveal that people that are, have a good social life and are connected with people, that they have better mental health and are more stable and just, more mentally, emotionally fit than people that are more antisocial, that are loners, that don't do that. It's, I'm pretty sure there are several studies. I was reading one. I should have marked it here for reference. But anyway, so there are all kinds of. So let's just run through really quick a few reminders for people. As long as if you are one of those people that are really trying to follow the rules that are being broadcast all day, every day, and wear your mask and stay home and all that stuff, what do you tell people? I know you have your 8 essentials and we don't have to, go into the details of all of those, but let's just rattle off a few things really quick to make sure. Remember to do this, people, if this is how you're rolling, or even if you're not. And you should be doing these things whether we're in a pandemic or not.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter what like shows itself in life, your approach to it is exactly the same. Everybody does that in my office. Like, hey, different injury. What are we doing? Exact same thing you did before. You're just at another state of being, but the exact principles in line. Here we go. Yeah. I find now if a way to level up during this time is you have a break from your hysteria, even though there's another level of hysteria coming up, but you have a break from your regular day to day. Take advantage of that. Sit in silence. Sit. Literally, if you want to isolate, there's nothing wrong with that. Isolate by yourself. Go outside. What we would call meditation, breath, or prayer. And you don't even have to know what you're doing. Just sit alone. Just sit alone. No phone, no anything. Try to be in nature and try to just observe. I did it the other day on Idlewild Mountain. I started doing ohms. I haven't chanted in a long time. Do you chant at all? Have you ever chanted?
Yeah, I have. I haven't for a long time either, but when I have, it's kind of cool.
Exactly. So I was like by myself and I'm on the edge of this cliff and I was like, sunset was happening. I'm like, this is fantastic. You know what? I'm going to do some ohms. And I started to do some ohms and I just got into it. And the birds responded. There were just like birds going nuts that they weren't before. And they started to chirp. Now, I don't know if they were pissed or if they were responding in a good way.
Maybe you interrupted their Zen time.
They're just like, dude, I'm napping. Like, what is going on? Will you shut up? It's like rude. Brooklyn. Shut up.
Right.
So I was doing ohms, probably disturbing nature. I like to think the other way. But yeah, just getting out in nature and just getting out. Walking. Simple form of activity. And everybody can do it for the most part. Walk. Yeah. So many answers will come to you when you just walk. And there's such things called walking meditations. You don't even have to know how to do them. No music, no phone, other than maybe say, just keep it quiet and just walk and look at what you're looking at. Like look around you, just start to notice things.
That's a good one too. And it is surprising how really hard it is for when you start doing that to keep your mind on what you're doing, like on your feet or your steps or the tree or the clouds or and to not let your mind go running off into the future or what happened this morning or yesterday, or to keep it right there in the present with you is really, really hard when you're not used to doing that. Even when you are, it's a constant vigilant, focus that you have to maintain, but it's really effective.
And it's interesting on that note, I always suggest it to athletes, and human athletes can vary anywhere in my office from 10 to 90, but I'll always suggest it to everybody, every human. And it's interesting because the report back is never my glutes, my feet. They're always like, I just feel good. Like I feel calm and I feel at peace. And these are people that don't speak this way, like regularly. And that's their response. The regular response is usually an emotional, mental clearance, almost like a garbage empty when they walk. So I think it's vital one. This was no different to me. I think trying to find, just like I did with the phone, is regardless of what camp you're in with all this, we have a ton we could be grateful for. Like every single day, especially now. And I know we always talk about that, but even in moments like this, you know, I lost $1,000 phone. I lost a house key. Oh my gosh. Okay. What am I grateful for? Well, wait, like I'm at the beach. I got donuts.
Right.
I have people that I want to tell this story to. You know what I mean? Like I have people I can connect, totally enjoy this story and think it's hilarious. And I have an audience that I'm affecting healthfully, hopefully, you know,
right.
I have, like all these things, like, hold on. And it just boosts your element. It boosts you up another level. And that's what we're looking forward to doing. Keep on a regular sleep schedule. Sleep is number 4 on the 8 essentials, and they're in rank. Keep a bedtime, because it's so easy now because schedules are kind of twisted and tweaked. To go to sleep late, wake up late, and then our rhythms are off. And when that's off, hormones can shift and a lot of things can be affected. And so,
and fatigue, that kind of fatigue, from lack of consistent sleep really affects your ability to manage your emotions. Yeah. And so then if you get up and you're fatigued and you don't sleep well and you turn on your TV and you have, you know, whatever channel you're watching, the media, whose number one strategy is to play to your emotions, you know, you're just being led around, you know, by your nose, and all you're doing is reacting rather than thinking. You can't think clearly when you're sleep deprived. No.
And they do that right in the military on purpose to purposely put them in those environments. I just saw a post, a dentist, a holistic dentist I follow, and he will speak like you and I, because really any practitioner of any specialty of the body, when they're holistic, they tie in everything to everything. So it's like we're all coming from the same camp. And so you sometimes pick up little nuggets. And one of the things he said is the immune system inside your nose, the immune response inside your nose, the skin of your nose, the cells of your nose, nasal breathing boosts all these immune responses. And like things that are very violent, like violent invaders, but on purpose to teach us, when they go in through the nose, they don't last. They don't last. That's why, how deep do they have to go in your nose to find coronavirus? It's like, wait, if you have to shove a friggin' Q-tip into my brain to find it, how the hell is it coming out and we're so worried about it? You know, like, wait, you just touched my like amygdala. Like, hold on a second.
It's horrifying when I heard about how that happened.
I saw a video. I almost threw up. I'm like, oh God. It's like, yeah. And so this guy, Stephen Lin, he had said, and when I looked at that, like, I know the power of breathing through your nose, and I know, but he lists all these detailed cellular responses, which do we have to know? No. The bigger picture, your immune system is first line of defense is skin and oils, like everything on the outside. And that's part of it. The tracts, the digestive tract, your ear tract, nose, everything there. That's why they have to break through the skin with a vaccine or something else. Because if you went on the skin would be like, no, you're gone. We're not letting that in.
Yeah, it's your barrier for protect you. It's there for a reason.
Exactly. So inside the nose, it was like, dude, if I was like on the skin trying to find a safe place, I'd go harbor in the nose, man. There's so much warriors. There's so many warriors inside there that do their job and prevent a lot of the outside invaders from getting in and creating a response that we may not necessarily be able to handle that time because our terrain's just not in the position it is. So if you kind of believe that there's some stuff out there that's trying to get you right now, dominate nose breathing, nasal breathing as often as you can throughout the day. That's another big one, I would say. Yeah. That's a good one too, because I think a lot of people, wouldn't think of that. You're thinking about things like, well, don't smoke, you should probably eat healthier, which all those things are true, but nasal breathing is something that isn't going to come to the mind of the average person. Right. And it's doable. It's sustainable. Like something like, where do I buy the food? How do I cook it? Oh, wait, walk and breathe through my nose? Really? Life-changing. Telling you right now, life-changing on a consistent basis. It will literally change your life.
Yep. I went on a 5-mile walk yesterday with our daughter, who's back here again, and we're out. Everyone around here has a lot of acreages, so we're not like in a little neighborhood. So we're out walking and we're seeing, cows and chickens and horses and goats and, mountains and lakes, and smelling the fresh air and looking at the clouds and the birds. And it's by the time we got back, well, first of all, my lungs were on fire because it was a 5-mile hike and there was a lot of uphill. And I was like, okay, I had to do a little mouth breathing there for a minute. But I tried to stick with my nose. but it was awesome. And then we just felt so regenerated after, a week of company and schedules that we don't normally have and food that we don't normally have and all that good stuff. And it just felt so good. Totally. I felt like it was a reset. There's a lot of people. It will a lot of the common denominators from the elderly people or people later on in their lives over 90. One of their most common from a exercise, if we called it that, they just walk. They walk everywhere, and it's just one of those things. Like, man, we're really, and it boosts parasympathetic, the regenerative, restoring, the calming part of the nervous system. Just walk. Go take a walk. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So there's that obvious things, if you to keep your immune system boosted, the things that you're just talking about. I mean, reducing your alcohol intake, that's going to suppress your immune system. Finding ways, like you were talking about, other ways to manage your stress. If you can't, for whatever reason, get out and walk or move as much as, some people can, then I think I love just put in something that makes you laugh. Watch a movie, watch a comedy, something that makes you laugh. Laughing is really a good boost, I think. Somebody said that, absolutely. Somebody said that to one of my videos. Like, this made me laugh so hard. I'm like, boom, like there it is, because that right there was a huge immune response in a positive way. That's why Patch Adams did what he did. Like, literally, he would go into those wards of children and get them to laugh, to just not be focused on what was sick or symptoms or no. And I suggest that to people with families, like game night, something, charades, like something where you're just enjoying the act and the creativity. Kelly Brogan says, Dr. Kelly Brogan all the time, like the healer inside of us is the creative side. It's that artistic side because it doesn't have bounds. And I find like when we go to games and we're able to be creative and free and unbridled, and along with that comes silliness, and play. Yeah. And I the laugh couples with that. And it's just another thing that the healthier people do often. Right. It's true. Laugh. It's true. It was really fun here where we are in the little town of Cody, Wyoming. So there's a rodeo every night of the summer here. It's rodeo country. And then they always have a 4th of July parade. So it's the marching bands and it's horses and, it's everything that you would see in a parade. And, this is a tourist town. So there was speculation on what was it going to be like this year. And even though it was probably only 30% of the tourist population that we normally get, but I was so pleased and surprised when I got into town to the parade to see that there were still tons of people out, tons of tourists, less than usual, but they still showed up. And out of hundreds of people lining the streets, I think I only saw 3 people wearing a mask, number one. And people are shoulder to shoulder. It's a parade. There's no social distancing. And then the fire trucks come along at the end, and they have an ongoing water fight battle with one of the local bars in town called the Silver Dollar. And apparently it was the Battle Royale this year because there were literally water gun wielding snipers on the roofs of the building, and they're throwing water balloons, and people are laughing and running and playing and just having the time of their life. And I thought, God, this is so good to see. It's always good to see, but for obvious reasons, this year, it was amazing to see. And people were at the rodeo last night, you know, cheering on the bronc riders and the barrel racers. And it was just so good to see that at least in some places, there was still some freedom and good old-fashioned Americana kind of things going on. And there are still a lot of people that were fearlessly, you know, doing what we would normally be doing. And so it'll be interesting. Yeah, living and having fun and playing and just doing, you know, just doing their thing. So I don't know, you know, I don't want to sound arrogant about it, but it'll be interesting to see if there's any big spike here in our little town of Cody, Wyoming. I mean, you know, we'll know in a couple weeks, but I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully there won't be. And hopefully if there is, you know, it's people will be sick for a few days, recover, and be back to normal.
Sure. 99% over will do that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, all right. Well, I think that just kind of being able to talk about this and give people some more food for thought, and just, you know, sharing not only just a few good reminder tips, breathe through your nose, people, breathe through your nose. But, you know, is there any other advice that you would like to give listeners that, you know, that's just as important now, or after the whole thing runs its course, that we didn't touch on already?
I honestly think, because I do it myself, and I was reminded, I was on another podcast, just keep questioning things, not to be argumentative. You have every right to know, to learn, to observe, to take in information. Keep questioning, including yourself. I'll do it all the time because I can kind of get on cruise control where I kind of think I know. You know what I mean? I'll think I know in my office. I know what they need. I know. And it's like, do I know? Wait a second. And then I'll question, go dig a little further, find another layer. Oh, wow. How I wasn't really sharp there. It just keeps yourself sharp. Keep questioning everything, including you and I. And the thing is, when you do this, the information that is for you, it'll just show, it'll be there, but you might not have been ready for it earlier. And that's the thing. We could read the same book, right? The Alchemist, I've read 3 times. It's a total different book every time you read it. Just like people come in here. I have no idea what program we're on. Why? Because they're a completely different person than they were the time before. So we keep challenging and keep questioning and keep challenging, keep questioning every single day with everything that comes in. And then all those things that are principles, that are laws of the universe, that are stuff we're supposed to abide by as humans, they keep going through all the fuzz. They keep coming through the fog, and they will be bright and clear, and you'll be like, oh, that's it. That's what I want to retain. The rest, I'm just going to discard till the next round. And you just keep doing this moving forward. You have every right in an information age to learn and observe and adapt and survive, and that's on you. And the best thing is just connect with everything outside, engage, ask questions, and my news is talking to people. It's talking to you. It's talking to clients. That's how I get my news. You know what I mean? It's still opinionated, but it's that person. But I asked like 30 people the same question, and I got 30 different news stories. Interesting. All right, cool. Yeah. And what makes sense to me? All right. And then I learned something. I don't know. It's no different than listening to CNN, Fox, ABC, NBC. You know, it's just somebody's spin on something. I don't know. I'm just getting information. If it doesn't make sense, or it's, wait a second, I'm going to go a little further on this. Let me go to the source on this. Ooh, this is a little harder to find. Interesting. Listen, video, article. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, wow, that really makes sense. Boom. And then you just keep acquiring that. But I just love to keep questioning everybody, including yourself and including the sides that you agree with. You know what I mean? Yeah. My buddy does it to me all the time. Keep me sharp. You would think we just like fluff each other back and forth. Like, oh, yeah, you're amazing. No, you are. Here's more. You're great. No, we're like, bro.
No, you.
What are you doing? You know? Yeah. No, you.
Right. No, but it's really good advice though. Yeah. Questioning yourself, question the people that are willing to have a reasonable dialogue with you.
Totally.
And, be open. Be open and willing to consider other angles. And it doesn't mean you have to accept them, but at least be willing to listen and hear. And the more, like you say, the more information you have, the more informed decisions you can make about what you really think is right for you. But I think you're right. You have to get really, really curious. You have to want to be so in control of your own life that you have this insatiable curiosity to dig and do your own work and then do what works for you.
Oh, I think Einstein said it's like have holy curiosity. It's like holy curiosity. And then he said something else, compound interest is like the greatest invention. It's like we're paying into that compound interest account by doing the 8 essentials and doing this stuff driven by just holy curiosity. So those two really stand out. Yeah. Those things give me goosebumps.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. That was wonderful. I think this was super fun. Thank you so much for coming back and sharing all of your donut stories and your beach stories but all of the really good stuff. I really enjoyed it and I sure appreciate your time, Tommy. Thank you.
Oh yeah. And I'm grateful. Yeah. We've sparked this up, and is this my third time? I'm kind of doing it like a Justin Timberlake on SNL or Steve Martin on SNL. How many times they've like revisited and posted? Yeah. I have a little letter jacket and these.
I like it. I like it. This is either third or fourth. I think
good. All right.
I think third. I'll let you know for sure. And I will always post where everybody can find you, but it's drtommyjohn.com, right?
Yes.
Yep. And anywhere else, you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter. You're not hard to find.
Yeah, through that website, you'll find all my social on there. And then, and any questions you have, or if you feel like commenting or reaching out, or you want to have a back and forth, DM me. Kindly DM me. I do get back to the kind ones. I don't with the ones that express some not so friendly approaches.
Yeah.
But I'm always down to have a conversation, share, and if anybody's got any questions, for sure, you can contact me. I'm open.
Sweet. All right. Well, let's do it again in another month or two.
Got it. Done. Thanks, Loree.
All right. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Ready for you out.
Okay. Did Dr. Tommy hang up or is he still there?
He's gone.
All right. Here we go. Well, that was another fun episode with Dr. Tommy John. We always have a really great conversation. I so appreciate everything that he shares. So that was a good show, you guys. If you would like some guidance in making some healthy shifts in your life, I invite you to check out my website, LoreeBischoff.com, where you can learn what private coaching with me is all about. And you can find my books there too, Common Sense Happiness, which helps you create a healthy mental diet, and the Foodprint Plan, which helps you create a healthy eating lifestyle. Both of these books can be extremely effective at helping you boost your immune system, which is really what we were talking about today. So if you're enjoying all the good shift being shared on this podcast, it would mean a lot to me if you would just take a minute, give it a quick rating and a review. And that also helps a lot of other people see that it is worth their time to give it a listen. I hope you all enjoyed this week's health shift. Until next week, stay feisty, my friends, stay healthy, and go make some epic shift happen in your life. You too, Gary B.